Take a good look at this ominous building. Etch its cold, dark features into your memory, because inside this forbidding edifice, at this very moment, a secretive meeting is taking place. A meeting that involves key tech experts, university professors, unelected bureaucrats, and bankers. Together, they're planning what some insiders describe as nothing less than a war. A war that could take America's greatest asset, the US dollar, and turn it against us, as a tool to control you and our entire nation. Its codename, Project Hamilton, and it's paving the way to a truly disturbing future, one that's already being hailed by the current administration as a high priority that will fundamentally change the structure of America's entire financial system, a means to a more open, accessible economy, and even the future of money. Yet, as you're about to see, when they're done, we will live in an America where every dollar you have will be tracked and controlled by them. From the organizations you donate to the political candidates you support, to how you spend your retirement savings, right down to the car you drive, even the food you buy. Heed this warning. When completed, Project Hamilton will lead to a new kind of currency that will give federal officials full control over the money going into and coming out of every person's account. Now, that's not my warning. That comes straight from the Cato Institute. And this level of control is why others are calling this war, a threat to global stability and financial privacy. One of the biggest disasters that's ever been visited upon people. Way beyond 1984, where the risk of political abuse is huge. Mark my words, as Americans wake up to the true impact of Project Hamilton, it will make the social and political turmoil of the past decade, the riots in the streets, protesters blocking highways, looting and the destruction of private property, feel like a walk in the park. And when the smoke is cleared, America will be even more deeply divided than it is now. Not just into red states and blue states, but into a much richer America and a much, much poorer America. Whichever side you end up on, richer or poorer, will be determined by what you see here today. Because every dollar you have in your savings account, in your retirement, or anywhere else is in grave danger. Ignoring the inevitable could put you and your entire family in jeopardy. That's why today, you're going to hear from someone who was in the room for a private meeting in California where the framework for this new currency was first being discussed, long before there ever was a Project Hamilton. For 10 years, he's been tracking every detail, preparing for what once seemed unthinkable but is now all too real. His name is Ian King. Ian is a former hedge fund manager, angel investor, and digital currency expert, and one of the country's leading experts on the stock market and the economy. In fact, you may have seen one of his many appearances on the financial networks. He was one of the few professionals who could see the 2008 market crash coming and used those turbulent years to make his hedge fund investors a 261% gain on their money. His Wall Street reputation and uncanny track record is why over 160,000 people from 119 countries eagerly pay for his insights, including insiders at Wall Street's top firms such as Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley, and Merrill Lynch. Today, for the first time ever, he's revealing all the details behind Washington's covert war against everything that makes America. In the next few minutes, you'll discover what Project Hamilton is and why Ian believes it could irrevocably alter life here in America forever. We'll reveal the perpetrators behind this scheme, the secretive teams that work deep within this forbidding tower. You'll see why their plot is an imminent threat to your wealth and your personal freedoms. Threats unimaginable just 10 years ago, but are, as of now, all but written in stone. We'll show you how Project Hamilton is the fourth and final move in a series of radical actions by the government against the dollar that stretches back 110 years. Each action obliterated the value of the dollar, making average Americans much poorer in the process. And you'll see how Project Hamilton could make things much worse. And most importantly, Ian King will reveal his personal plan, what he's doing with his money, so you can follow in his footsteps to protect your wealth and your freedoms from this massive government overreach, including the one investment that could prove to be the only safe haven left after Project Hamilton. The last time Ian King recommended a money move like this, folks just like you had the chance to walk away with a peak 18,000% gain. In fact, you'll hear what some of them have had to say later in this presentation. The best part, anyone can take advantage of Ian's solutions. But you'll need to do it today. Time is of the essence, because President Biden's executive order 14067 has fast-tracked this new kind of money, commanding the full power of the U.S. government to move with the highest urgency, including the Secretary of Treasury, the Secretary of State, the Attorney General, and, well, an army of government bureaucrats. There's no time to waste, so let's get started. Ian, welcome. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, John. I'm glad to be here, although I wish it were under better circumstances.
I agree, but now is the time to reveal what you feel is the true story lurking behind Project Hamilton, and what it means to you, your money, and the very future of this country. So, Ian, what exactly is Project Hamilton?
Great question. It's actually named after Alexander Hamilton, our country's first Treasury Secretary. He believed that a strong federal government should have control over the currency.
Not a horrible thought, though, really.
It's not. You want a strong, stable currency, but Hamilton never could have imagined that today's technology would make it possible for the government to weaponize the U.S. dollar and use it against American citizens.
Okay, so what do you mean by weaponize?
Well, Project Hamilton is laying the groundwork for a new kind of monetary system, one that could ultimately be used to track, monitor, and even control everything we do here in America. And this is where it all got started.
All right, so Ian, tell the folks at home the significance of this building.
John, this ordinary office building is ground zero, the command center where Project Hamilton launched into existence. This is the headquarters of the Boston Federal Reserve, and inside, Fed officials have partnered with an elite team of tech experts from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology.
So MIT, the same minds that are perfecting computers that think like humans and robots and even cloning.
Right. This specific team is called the Digital Currency Initiative, and they've partnered with the Fed to launch Project Hamilton, a plan to eliminate our paper currency and replace it with this, a digital dollar, or as they call it, a central bank digital currency, a CBDC.
So they're literally coming for our money.
Exactly. Project Hamilton will end the US dollar as we know it and replace it with this new digital currency, one that will be completely controlled by the Federal Reserve and US government.
All right, so what happens to the money in my pocket?
Everyone's wondering the same thing, John. The simple answer is it will be canceled, confiscated, and replaced with their new digital dollar, meaning your checking, savings, even your retirement accounts will be under the government's control.
So they'll be able to affect the money in what, my IRA, whether I want them to or not?
Yes, when your money's just a bunch of ones and zeros, the Fed can hypothetically do anything they want with it.
All right, so how will this digital dollar actually work?
Well, John, based on my research, it's likely that every American will simply have a personal account with the Federal Reserve, and we'll all get something like this, a combination debit card and national ID. And when you get paid, your money will be deposited directly into your Federal Reserve account. And every time you want to buy something, you'll have to use your digital dollar card.
So if all our money is being forced into new Federal Reserve accounts, what happens to my local bank?
Great question. With everything centralized with the Fed, they'll no longer be needed. Most will simply cease to exist.
So Ian, to be clear, when you say digital dollar, this isn't cryptocurrency, right?
Right. I need to be very clear about that. Project Hamilton's new digital dollar is not a cryptocurrency. In fact, as you'll see in a moment, cryptos are the polar opposite of a central bank digital currency. The government's new digital dollar will be completely centralized. Every penny created, controlled, and tracked by the Federal Reserve. But cryptocurrencies are completely decentralized, unlike CBDCs, and are designed to maintain your privacy. Now, that distinction is important to keep in mind, as you'll see in a moment.
Okay, now I have to admit, the more I hear about Project Hamilton, the more disturbing it gets.
And you're not the only one. Cornell economist Eswar Prasad called this new digital dollar an instrument of government control over citizens. The Wall Street Journal reports that when fully implemented, the digital dollar would result in unprecedented power in a world where privacy would be difficult to maintain. Economist Milton Ezrati, writing in Forbes, said this plan would greatly enhance the government's surveillance powers and give the government power over the allocation of financial capital. The big Wall Street banks are already calling this plot the next big financial disruptor. David Yermak of NYU told CNN that with this new digital dollar, the risk of political abuse is huge. And billionaire investor Doug Casey didn't mince words at all, predicting this will be one of the biggest disasters that's ever been visited upon people.
So, Ian, these are some pretty strong condemnations of what's happening. But what the folks at home need to know, though, what makes the digital dollar so dangerous?
John, 200 years ago, Meyer Rothschild, the founder of the Rothschild banking dynasty, said, "Give me control of a nation's money supply, and I care not who makes its laws." With the digital dollar, the government will finally have complete power over all our money. Because with digital money, every dollar spent becomes trackable and controllable.
All right, trackable and controllable. So let's talk about both of those things.
Sure. So trackable. Right now, as you likely know, most financial transactions are already digital. In fact, 97% of US dollars on deposit exist only as computer code. But the digital dollar will make every penny you spend totally trackable, because every single digital dollar will come with its own unique identifying serial number, one that will allow authorities to trace how and where every dollar is being spent. So, say I want to send $100 to a political candidate or a charity. I can do it right now through my phone. And for the most part, nobody will ever know it happened. But under Project Hamilton, they'll know it.
All right, explain that a little further for folks.
Okay, say you donate to a political candidate or a faith-based charity, one the party in power doesn't like. Because your money is now digital and trackable, the government knows about it instantly. Now think about the potential implications of that. If the government chooses, they could put you and your donation on a watch list.
And because when your dollar is digital, everything becomes transparent.
Correct. You purchase a gun, you buy a case of beer, or maybe just fill up your SUV.
Watch list, watch list, watch list. So, to your point, if everything we spend our money on is trackable, basically America will become little more than a vast government database where every action, every person is tracked and monitored by how they spend their money.
Everything you make, spend, donate, they'll see it all.
All right, so let's talk about control. How will the digital dollar give them control over our money?
That's a great question. When money is digital, it's now just a bunch of ones and zeros. Computer code that can be easily programmed, just like software, to meet their goals.
All right, give us an example of that.
Sure. Say we're in a recession, right? People aren't spending money, but the government needs to get money back into circulation to get the economy moving again.
All right, but in a recession, people want to hold on to their money.
Right. But to help encourage you to spend, the government can simply reprogram your digital dollar to have an expiration date.
So they could simply program my money to expire, like my money runs out of time?
Right. They'll be able to set your money to expire by a certain date. And if you don't spend it by the expiration date, your hard-earned money will simply disappear.
got to tell you, Ian, I'm having a hard time imagining that could actually happen.
Well, you don't have to imagine. It's already happening, John.
Now, here?
No, not yet, but in China, China is at least 4 years ahead of us in the development of its digital currency. And what they're doing over there gives us a pretty good idea of what we could expect to happen over here. And the Economic Times reports that China is already testing expiration dates on the digital yuan. It's only a matter of time before it happens here.
Okay, that's outrageous.
It is, and you know what? You're not the only person to think so. Even Newsweek published an opinion piece that called the digital dollar the end of American freedom and predicted that if the Federal Reserve adopts a central bank digital dollar, the American government will be on a surefire path to authoritarianism.
Okay, folks, I know everything you're hearing today is deeply disturbing. This is the biggest change to America's money system in 250 years. But I want you to take heart. There is hope, because in a moment, Ian will be sharing his personal plan, specific actions you can take now to protect yourself from the worst impacts of Project Hamilton and the digital dollar, including the one asset Ian believes will become the go-to safe haven investment of the next 10 years. More on that in just a moment. Now, Ian, I was thinking here, if the government can control the currency and program it to do whatever it wants to, it seems to me it would make it even easier for the government to launch all the tax and spend policies it wants.
That's absolutely true. Once you have absolute control over the nation's money, you can use that power to do virtually anything. Now, take President Biden's tax increases on corporations. According to research from the Tax Foundation, that one move would not only make investing in U.S. corporations less profitable, it would also eliminate over 150,000 jobs. And workers across the spectrum would actually lose spending power, John, not gain it. And the digital dollar would make it easier to enforce. Now, the Green New Deal would force corporations and households to go green and cost the U.S. taxpayers an estimated $93 trillion. Bernie Sanders' Medicare for All would cost between $30 and $40 trillion, and Project Hamilton could make all these pipe dream programs easier to accomplish. And that brings me to one of the most disturbing aspects of these digital dollars.
Oh, wait, even more disturbing than what we've seen already?
I think so, because when your money can be tracked and controlled, it can be used for social engineering life in America. Because the digital dollar would give them complete power over the currency, they could very easily use that power to track and even alter how you live your life, controlling what you do, who you see, and even how much you pay for things.
All right, elaborate on that.
Sure. Look, John, up until now, the easiest way for the government to get people to do what they think is right is with programs that reward, quote unquote, good behavior.
So, like tax incentives for installing solar or driving an electric vehicle.
Exactly. But when your money is digital and programmable, the government can use the digital dollar to create a punishment structure.
So instead of rewarding good behavior, it'll have the ability to punish what it deems to be bad behavior. Mm-hmm. Give us an example of that, what we're talking about here.
Sure. Say you drive an 8-cylinder SUV, but the government decides it wants to see everyone driving a hybrid or an electric vehicle.
Like in California.
Right. And with the digital dollar, if the government decides you shouldn't drive a big gas-hungry SUV, it'll be able to reprogram your money so every time you pull up to the gas pump, it can make you pay more than anyone else.
So if everyone else is paying $4 or $5 a gallon,
you could be forced to pay, say, $10 or $20 a gallon.
You know, I was just thinking, but that could never really happen here. But then, hey, I remembered what happened across the border up in Canada when Canadian authorities, remember this, used the banks to help punish the Freedom Convoy truckers.
Even Canadians who simply donated to the truckers saw their government freeze their bank accounts.
And even a single mom who donated just $50, allegedly, get this, she had her money frozen.
It's awful, right? And that was a relatively crude display of government power in action. Imagine what would have happened if Canada had their own digital dollar.
All right, Ian, I have to admit, the scope of this digital dollar seems unprecedented.
John, it is, but this is not the first time the government has made moves to manipulate our currency. As I'll show you in a moment, the scheme that began in this ordinary office tower in Boston is actually the fourth time the US government has taken drastic steps to control the dollar. These were moves that not only consolidated more power in the hands of the bankers and the government, but destroyed the value of the dollar by 40, 50, and even 60%.
Really? And you believe Project Hamilton will be even worse?
I do, because it could sink the value of the dollar. It could drive inflation even higher than it is now and destroy any semblance of privacy we have left in this country.
Okay, that's truly disturbing.
John, it is. And again, if you really want to understand what a digital dollar will do to our privacy rights, there's no better or more frightening example than what's happening in China.
All right, now you mentioned that China is already working on its own digital currency.
Well, they're not just working on it. China is looking to use its new digital currency for a lot more than just easier transactions. For instance, despite their official denials, it's clear that China has instituted what it calls the social credit system. This tracks individuals to determine if they're worthy to be a part of its society. Now, if someone in China has a low social credit score, they can be forbidden from traveling by plane or train. Their savings can be drained from their accounts as punishment, and they can even be fired from their job and left destitute. Now, the National Review reports that China plans to use the new digital currency to roll out this social credit system nationwide.
So the potential exists for this to happen here in America.
Yes, even the New York Times recognized this threat. It published an op-ed that said, as cash disappears from the modern economy, privacy disappears with it.
All right, now Ian, you've been tracking every development of this story for what? For like the past 10 years.
That's right. In 2012, I was at a private meeting in California. That was where I first learned about the possibilities of the digital dollar. I got to meet people on the inside, was privy to closed-door conversations. Now, John, this meeting was so hush-hush, I had to sign a non-disclosure agreement just to get in the door. So I can't reveal any details I learned there. But what I can tell you is the more I heard, the more I realized the potential for abuse, that a digital currency could really be weaponized against us. Now, that one fateful meeting set me off on a 10-year mission to make sure Americans are prepared for the day this digital currency fully launches. And the moment President Biden signed the executive order, I knew that day would come faster than anyone expected. And that's why I'm going public with this information now, because now is the time to act.
Ian, the more I hear about this, the more I begin to realize that as Project Hamilton rolls out, it could end up driving a wedge through this country, making America even more deeply divided than it is now, but not just into red states and blue states, but into a much richer America and a much, much poorer America.
I couldn't agree more with that sentiment. Now, on one side, you'll have the majority of Americans, the ones who are unaware of what's really happening, the folks who still think the government has their best intentions in mind. Now, these folks will remain in the dark about the real impact of the digital dollar until it's too late.
Until they slowly realize what's being taken away. Freedom, choices, everything America stands for will be gone.
They'll be completely blindsided by Project Hamilton and the government's digital dollar.
Now, on the other side, you have folks who are hearing our message today and can take action now to get positioned before Project Hamilton and the digital dollar makes full impact. Now, those will be the ones who will have the real chance to prosper.
John, I strongly believe that whichever side you end up on, richer or poorer, will be determined by what folks choose to do with the information I'm sharing today.
Now, Ian, I've known you for years, and you're usually a pretty optimistic guy, but I think it's important for folks at home to understand why you're so convinced Americans will be blindsided by Project Hamilton.
Sure. It's because the U.S. government has a proven history of actions that slashed the value of the dollar and left average American families devastated. In fact, John, it's happened 3 times over the last 110 years.
All right, well, I think now would be a good time to go through each of these moves to give folks a real idea of what we're facing.
Sure, let's do a little history lesson here. The first time the government interfered with the dollar was 1913. Now, back then, powerful banks like JP Morgan convinced the US government to basically hand the reins of the economy over to them. And that formed the Federal Reserve. The move was meant to stabilize the economy, but within 10 years, the value of the US dollar plunged 42%.
Okay, I remember certainly reading about that. Okay, so what was the second time the government took action on the economy?
Well, it wasn't much further into the future. In 1933, FDR issued an executive order making private ownership of gold illegal and seizing all the gold in the nation. The confiscation was a slap in the face to the American people. But then FDR even made it worse.
How so?
Well, because once he had all the gold, he simultaneously cut the value of the dollar against gold a whopping 59%.
So families struggling in the Depression woke up to discover what little money they had left was worth nearly 60% less than when they went to bed.
Correct. And the government's newly seized gold assets became even more valuable overnight.
Okay, let's move on to the third assault on America's money.
Sure. 1971, John. Richard Nixon took the US dollar off the gold standard. That cut the value of the dollar by another 50%. Americans, already stressed from inflation, suddenly find their money worth even less.
All right, so each action effectively destroyed the buying power of the buck, making life for the average American much harder, while fattening the coffers of the banks and the government. And now, Project Hamilton, the plan that was launched here in this big building in Boston, could end up giving the Federal Reserve and the U.S. government absolute control over our money and what we do with it.
John, you're seeing the pattern here. This is the biggest, most far-reaching, most consequential plot in American history. And I want you and everyone watching this today to be on the right side of history.
And you're going to show our viewers what they can do to prepare.
Yes, and I'm going to do that in just a few moments. I'll give everyone the chance to see my personal plan to protect yourself and your family from the worst impacts of Project Hamilton.
All right, can you tell us a little bit about it now?
Sure. I call it my digital dollar survival blueprint. In it, I'll show you what I think will be the best places to put your money to work for you in the months and years ahead. These are opportunities that traditionally do well in times of crisis. Plus, I'm also going to share a unique opportunity with just remarkable profit potential. It's what I believe is the most important investment you can make right now.
So, folks, now I had a sneak peek at Ian's survival blueprint, and I can tell you he's not exaggerating, because the last time he recommended this kind of investment, it delivered a peak gain of, get this, 18,000% in just over a year.
John, that was an exceptional gain, and I can't promise we'll ever see action like that again, but what I can say is that this will prove to be the most important investment for the next 10 years. But you must act now, because there's a very small window of opportunity here, and it's getting smaller every day. Remember, Biden's executive order has enlisted the full power of the US government to move with the highest urgency to potentially make the digital dollar a reality in the near future.
All right, so the clock is ticking. And folks, in just a minute, Ian's going to be showing you more about his digital dollar survival blueprint, his personal plan to make sure you're on the right side of history, as one of the folks with the chance to become richer, not poor. But first, I want to tell you a little bit more about Ian King. Now, Ian, I'm going to brag a little bit on you here. Ian got into the world of finance when he was just 19 and then went on to hone his market skills at some of Wall Street's biggest banks, including Salomon Brothers, Merrill Lynch, and Citigroup. By the time he turned 25, he was managing a group of 20 traders. He then put his trading skills to work for himself as head trader for a top hedge fund called Piahi Capital. He was there for the market crash of 2008 to 2009. As other hedge funds were dropping over 50% and investors were panicking to get out of the markets as fast as possible, Ian kept his cool and saw the opportunity amid the panic. Instead of losing 50% like most other funds, his hedge fund gained a best annual return of 261%. By the time he'd reached the ripe old age of 35, Ian had parlayed his investing skills into an early retirement, turning his back on Wall Street and walking away. Of course, just because he'd retired didn't mean he stopped working or investing. He founded a research firm based in South Florida, where he publishes a number of different research services. He's dedicated to sharing his insights with the folks who benefit from it most, Main Street Americans, uncovering truly exceptional profit opportunities, often from investments that were being ignored by many of the experts in the financial establishment. For example, in 2018, many experts thought Apple had seen its best days. Ian disagreed. His research was pointing to the exact opposite conclusion. He went on the record during a TV broadcast and predicted Apple shares were set for a big bull run. And Apple shares are up 163% so far. Here's another example that illustrates Ian's expertise in getting ahead of a situation for big returns. In 2019, many had written off Tesla. Again, Ian's research was showing him the exact opposite. He recommended Tesla to his followers, and 12 months later, they were able to cash out 735% gains. And he did it again in 2020. In March of that year, the cryptocurrency market had crashed. And right on cue, the experts began calling it the beginning of the end for Bitcoin and the rest of the crypto market. But Ian knew better, because he'd been investing in cryptocurrencies since 2013, when Bitcoin was just $100. So he could see what others were ignoring, that this crash was just a temporary consolidation. And the market bounced back, just like he said it would. He recommended an investment that handed out 2 rounds of profits, selling a quarter of the position for a 76% gain in just 5 months, and more than 1,000% gain on the rest in just 9 months. And another investment that moved so high so quickly, folks who followed his recommendation had the chance to cash out big gains not once, but twice. The first over 3,900% in just 3 months, and then 18,000% just 9 months later. Today, Ian has shared what may be the most important and the most shocking story of his career: Project Hamilton and the digital dollar. One of the most destructive plans ever in our history. And as Ian said, now is the time to make sure you are on the right side of history. And to help you do just that, Ian's prepared a special series just for you, the Digital Dollar Survival Blueprint. Now, Ian, fill us in on the exact details of this.
Sure, John. The Digital Dollar Survival Blueprint is a special package of research and recommendations my team and I have put together. Inside, you'll find my most important research to date, including the detailed information you need to help you survive the massive upheavals ahead from the digital dollar.
All right, so I'm excited to hear what you have in store for us. I mean, you've painted a pretty grim picture of America's future, so it's good to know that there is hope, that there is a way to deal with all this and actually come out on top.
That's such a great way to put it, John, because behind every crisis hides the promise of opportunity.
Perfectly said. So let's dive in. What exactly is in your blueprint?
Okay, so first up, my team and I have put together a special 3-part report called Protecting Your Money from Project Hamilton. You see, John, there are 3 important steps that you can take right away to protect your wealth and even prosper.
Okay, can you walk us through them?
Sure. The first is hard assets. Hard assets have always been a go-to investment in times of crisis. And with Project Hamilton on the fast track to completion, I believe more and more money will be moving to this asset class. And in this report, I give you the simplest way I know to take advantage of this flight to safety.
All right, so what's the second step?
Step 2 is inflation-proof your wealth. Now, the digital dollar could destroy the buying power of the dollar and send inflation rocketing higher. So the second investment in this report is something few people know about. It's a safe and secure investment that's designed to not just keep up with inflation, but to beat it every year.
All right, now that sounds great, especially these days. So what's the third step?
Step 3 is diversify some of your wealth out of the US dollar. In this report, I'm going to introduce you to a truly unique investment that lets you make short-term investments into select foreign currencies. And what makes this investment truly one of a kind, unlike trading in the currency market, with this investment, your money is 100% FDIC insured. It's all in this special report, protecting your money from Project Hamilton.
All right, and this is just the first part of your digital dollar survival blueprint, right?
It is. I'm also going to share what I consider to be the single most important investment sector right now. Now, John, every crisis opens the door to an opportunity. And I found what I believe could be the single biggest investment opportunity for the next decade and even beyond. It'll prove to be one of the best and perhaps only safe haven investments for the coming digital dollar, and one that could increase in value even more as the digital dollar becomes our new national currency. I call it the 21st century solution to the Fed's digital dollar.
All right, so great. What is it?
Well, remember earlier when you asked me if the digital dollar was like cryptocurrency?
Right, and you said it should not be confused with cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, because the Fed's new money is actually what you said, the polar opposite of crypto.
Correct, and here's what I mean. Digital dollars are controlled hypercentrally. One entity, the Fed, will have complete say in this new money. Now, cryptocurrencies, on the other hand, are completely decentralized. There's no single hub or organization or computer server that's controlling the market. And there's no limit on the number of digibucks that a government can print. So its new digital dollars will still drive inflation higher, making your dollars worth less and less.
Which is the opposite of cryptocurrencies.
John, you got it. Many cryptos, like Bitcoin, have a maximum number that will be created. The supply is finite. Once they reach the max, no more will be made, meaning, unlike the digital dollar, they'll remain a store of value.
Okay, what do you mean by store of value?
It's a great question. Now, consider this, John. Even with the recent downturn in the crypto market, Bitcoin is still up over 460,000% as recently as June.
Wow, now that is impressive. So that's $1,000 invested in Bitcoin at the beginning would have been what, worth over 4.6 million by this summer?
That's what I mean by store value. Now, another big difference is privacy. Digital dollars could consolidate private and personal information into one central government database. That would make everyone's personal data available to the government's prying eye. But that would also make them vulnerable to hackers as well.
And even worse, as we just saw, the new digital dollar can be used to track and even control everything you do.
Right. Cryptos are built to preserve privacy. Now, these transactions happen behind layers of security to protect your privacy and make you virtually anonymous. And I believe strongly that cryptocurrencies will be your best hope of not just surviving this new age of the digital dollar. I believe that the right crypto investments today will be the best protection against the coming financial upheavals of Project Hamilton.
Now, Ian, the recent downturn in the crypto market had a lot of folks in a panic.
That's true. And John, right on cue, the mainstream media predicted the end of crypto again.
Well, the media just loves predicting the end of cryptos, don't they? In fact, it seems every time the crypto markets correct, the media declares crypto dead.
I sense a pattern here. In fact, since 2010, when Bitcoin first launched, the mainstream press predicted the death of crypto over 438 times.
438 times? Well, I guess to paraphrase Mark Twain, the rumors of crypto's death have been greatly exaggerated.
That's right. And each time prices fell, the crypto market came roaring back to set new highs. And every time, these record prices were driven by powerful catalysts. Now, I believe the digital dollar could be the biggest catalyst ever. And this would be enough to rocket cryptocurrencies to new highs again and again.
So just like the expert predictions for the end of Apple and Tesla and now crypto, you're looking at the same market the experts are looking at, yet you're able to see what they're missing.
That we're face to face with incredible opportunity here. The chance to get in on the crypto revolution for prices we're not likely to see again in our lifetimes.
And folks, you may not realize this, but Ian's been able to show his other readers some incredible gains in the crypto market, like the 76% and the great over 1,000% that I mentioned earlier on the Binance trades in less than a year, and a gain of 1,900% on half a position in Solana in just 4 months. And the other half has gone up as high as 15,000%. Though its price has since come down to earth, Ian's readers are still up over 1,800% since December of 2020, which is why Ian's telling folks to hold on, because he knows the potential is still off the charts. Then came the big one, the biggest win I've ever seen. Ian recommended Luna, and 4 months later recommended selling half for a profit of nearly 4,000%. And then, just 1 year after buying it, Ian told readers to sell the rest of Luna for a gain of 18,000%. That one trade would have made folks 110 times their money. Ian, those are absolutely incredible gains.
Now, those are all exceptional gains, John. But keep in mind, I don't know if we'll ever see a performance like that again.
But it could happen. I mean, to me, that's the most exciting thing about cryptos. When cryptos swing down, it makes headlines. But when crypto swings back up, it makes fortunes.
That's a great way to put it. And that brings me to the next part of the digital dollar survival blueprint. A special research report that details not one, not two, but 4 unique crypto opportunities. I call it the Crypto Grand Slam. And I believe that these 4 new assets will be the best way to not only diversify your wealth from the ravages of the digital dollar, they each offer the chance to multiply your investment exponentially over the coming years.
Now, that's 4 unique cryptos in one report. Tell us about them.
Happy to. So I call crypto number 1 the next gen coin because it's the next generation of the same crypto technology that Bitcoin pioneered. And I believe it will prove to be 20 times bigger than Bitcoin in the years ahead.
Wait, 20 times bigger than Bitcoin? Okay, you're talking potentially astronomical gains.
That's right, John. And the best part is you can start with as little as $20 if you want.
Okay, Ian, this next gen coin is the first crypto pick you have. Tell us about the others.
Sure, I have 3 additional crypto recommendations that I call the 100x coins.
And the name implies you believe these 3 coins could go up 100 times?
That's 100x, and by the end of this decade. The first coin I call the Google of crypto. Now, much like Google catalogs the web, this crypto does the same, but for blockchain networks. It's proven to be blazing fast, low cost, and easy to use. I call the next coin the Amazon of crypto. It's a decentralized cloud storage platform. Now, this coin is likely to make history as the fastest of its kind to reach $1 billion market cap, yet anyone can buy in for about $20. The third pick I call the Meta coin because it's at the forefront of the metaverse revolution. Now, Facebook has talked about this concept before. It's basically the next generation of the internet. And John, this coin is an absolute steal, especially since anyone can buy in for less than $2. All of these coins have the potential to 100x by the end of this decade. Now, I need to say, it's super important to understand that all investing carries risk, John.
Of course, that almost goes without saying.
I know, and we've said it before, but I'm going to say it anyway. All investing involves risk, especially when you're investing in cryptos. And that's why I always urge my readers, please, never invest more than you can afford to lose. Now, that being said, I truly believe that all the crypto picks that you'll find in these reports are a great way to diversify out of the US dollar and into cryptocurrencies that can appreciate in value.
Ian, that sounds great. Now, folks, as you just saw, Ian's knowledge of the cryptocurrency market has led to some incredible gains. Let me show you what some of Ian's most successful readers from his premium crypto service have been able to do with his picks. Now, these are letters from people who once sat in your seat, watching a presentation just like this one. They started following Ian's insights and made a ton of money. Now, Charles from Texas said, "Wow, I never thought returns like this were possible. I bought Luna about a year ago with $835. I took some money out in April because I needed it. I just sold the balance yesterday. I estimate my total profit to be $54,000. Think about that. $800 into $54,000 within a year. Now this one's from Edward. He said, I invested $1,300 in Luna. I held on for the entirety until December 22nd when I sold all my coins for $88. I made over $150,000 profit on this one coin in a year. So Edward turned $1,300 into $150,000. Okay, one more. This is my favorite. It's from Linda in Arizona. She wrote, Dear Ian, or as I tell my husband, Sugar Daddy, I was brand new to crypto investing when I started following you. I was scared, but I put $500 into each trade, Luna being one of them. I sold half when you told us to, and the other half today. My total gain, $42,300. Linda turned $500 into $42,300 in just a year. And as Ian told you, his next gen coin and the three 100x cryptos are going to be even more exciting, and you can start investing with as little as $20. Okay, let's review everything Ian's giving you as part of your digital dollar survival blueprint. Part 1, the Protecting Your Money Report. The 3 most important steps you can take today to protect your money with a hard asset investment, a way to inflation-proof your portfolio, and an FDIC insured strategy to invest in foreign currencies. Part 2, the Crypto Grand Slam that gives you details on 4 unique cryptos. The next-gen coin that could be 20 times bigger than Bitcoin. And then the 3 100x coins, cryptos that could make 100 times an investment by the end of the decade. Now, if we were to charge you for each piece of information separately, and we easily could by themselves, each report has a value of $499. But with the Fed's new digital dollar on the horizon, Ian's giving them away today for free as part of your digital dollar survival blueprint. How do you get them? Well, Ian has one more thing he'd like to share with you. Ian?
I do have one more thing to share, and it's the most valuable tool we're going to talk about today. I believe the coming months and years will be some of the most challenging in our nation's history as Project Hamilton picks up steam, as the Fed begins confiscating our paper dollars to make way for its digital dollar, and as our personal privacy disappears. Now, I don't want anyone to have to go through all this alone, and what I have to share next will give the folks at home the chance to have me virtually by their side each step of the way, each and every month. Everything you've seen so far in the digital dollar survival blueprint is my gift to you, just for trying a 1-year risk-free membership to my flagship newsletter, Strategic Fortunes. For the past 5 years, Strategic Fortunes has given my readers the chance to achieve true financial independence. Every month, I work to bring you my research and insights into everything I see happening in the market.
All right, now earlier you saw some of Ian's top crypto gains. Now let me show you some of the top stock gains he shared with his Strategic Fortunes readers over the past 5 years. 147% on Qualcomm and a 302% gain on Generac, both in about 2 years. He made a 137% profit on Inspire Medical Systems in about 6 months, and an awesome 735% gain on Tesla in 1 year. Ian also recommended selling half of his position in SunPower for a 780% gain in just 7 months.
Thanks, Sean. And as you mentioned earlier, I've been actively involved in the world of finance for over 20 years, both on Wall Street as a trader and a hedge fund manager, and off Wall Street as a private investor. Now, what I love most about Strategic Fortunes is that it lets me bring my 20 years of investment experience to Main Street investors.
Now, let me share some of the best emails Ian has received from his readers. Jim Braden has so much faith in Ian's Tesla recommendation, we estimate that he invested $156,000 into his pick. And let me say, his faith paid off big time, because when he wrote this note, he had already made over 3 times his money in just 6 months on that one trade. He said, I really appreciate your insight, especially about disruptive companies. I took your advice on Tesla and I'm up $468,000. Keep up the good work. Love it. He made $500,000 in 6 months. $500,000. The next note is from Ronald Pelling. He said, Strategic Fortunes has been a great investment for me. I love your weekly updates and webinars. Gaining a lot of faith in your stock picks. Keep up the great work. Now, this note is from Harry Choi. He wrote, I'm so glad that I subscribed to you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, one more. This message from Michael Goodyear sums up perfectly the kind of impact Ian's research has had on his readers' lives. Thank you for all that you are doing to help little guys like me. You'll never know what a difference you've made in my life.
John, it's messages like that that make me so happy and grateful, knowing that my work is having a positive impact on people's lives.
So good. All right, Ian, let's break down everything new members will be getting when they join Strategic Fortunes today. Okay, now first, you get the monthly Strategic Fortunes newsletter. Each month, Ian sends out a detailed briefing with complete research and analysis of his top investment recommendations for that month. Next up, the Strategic Fortunes Model Portfolio. This is where you'll find every stock and crypto that's on Ian's Buy Now list, including the crypto investments he wants to share with you today. You'll also get regular trade alerts directly from Ian. When it's time to make a move in the model portfolio, whether to buy a new investment or to sell, you'll get a trade alert, so you'll never miss out on a big opportunity. Also, Ian does regular weekly updates. Every week, he will send out a video on important events happening in the markets and how they impact the model portfolio. You'll also have access to a private members-only website. This is where all of our content is located, including all trade alerts, the model portfolio, your special reports, and more. And of course, a dedicated customer care team. If you ever have a question about your membership or the Strategic Fortunes website, you can reach out to our team for help.
Thanks, John. That covers it all. You know, we've put our heart and souls and a lot of time and money into making Strategic Fortunes the most complete, most comprehensive research service available anywhere.
And Ian, you've told me that your firm spends over $1 million a year on research so you can identify the absolute best opportunities for your subscribers.
That's right. And we do this month in and month out, year after year. And you saw earlier, the returns can really stack up. In fact, even with the recent market downturn, every one of my recommendations has posted an average gain of 61% in about a year and a half. That's winners and losers. And I send out new investments every month to subscribers.
All right, now combine the information and recommendations that Ian has for you in the Digital Dollar Survival Blueprint with the incredible research and potential profit opportunities you'll find in Strategic Fortunes every month, and you'll have at your fingertips some of the most important financial intelligence you'll find anywhere. All of it is yours when you accept a 1-year risk-free subscription to Ian's Strategic Fortunes. Now, by now, you must be wondering about the cost of all this. Well, normally, a 1-year subscription goes for $199. Now, that's a steal. However, this is too important to let anything hold you back from joining right now. So we're offering a special deal for you today because you're watching us right now and because there's so much at stake. You can get full access to Strategic Fortunes for an entire year for only $47. It's the lowest price we've ever offered for Ian's research. There has never been a better or more important time to join.
Thanks, John. The Fed's digital dollar will be the greatest financial upheaval this nation has ever seen. And I believe that cryptocurrencies will be the single best way to fight the Fed's encroaching power grab. And I have 4 of the best for you in these reports. Plus, you'll have my team's top research into hard assets, inflation-beating investments, and currencies other than the dollar. The choice is now yours.
Now, folks, this is too important to take chances that everything will simply work out with the digital dollar, which is why we're making this incredible offer to you now. To get started right away, click the orange button below this video screen, and you'll be taken directly to our secure encrypted website, where you'll be able to get started right away.
And let me add, I got you covered, because your investment is completely protected by a 12-month, 100% money-back guarantee. Join now and take 12 full months to see if my research and recommendations are right for you. You must be 100% convinced that Strategic Fortunes offers you the best money-making opportunities, and market insights, or we'll give you your money back, no questions asked. I don't care if you wait 364 days and then you call on the last day and ask for a refund, we'll give you back every penny. That's how confident I am in our ability to deliver outstanding results.
Well, Ian, let me thank you so much for joining us here today. It was eye-opening, to say the least.
John, it was great to be here. Now, this was, without a doubt, the most important presentation I've ever done. Thanks for giving me the chance to share this with everyone.
Well, we've covered a lot today, so let's do a quick recap here. Today, through the special offer, you're getting Ian's digital dollar survival blueprint with 4 incredible reports. Protecting your money from Project Hamilton, which is like 3 reports in one. The Crypto Grand Slam report with the 20 times better than Bitcoin, and the 100x coins report. Each of these reports, if sold separately, would be valued at $499. Plus, you're also getting a year's subscription to Ian's flagship research service, Strategic Fortunes, an annual subscription that normally costs $199. That's $1,100 in value, and you're getting it all for a deep discount today. Folks, this really is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. As Ian said earlier, now is the time to make sure you are on the right side of history. And you can do that by clicking the orange button below this video right now. You'll be taken to a secure order page where you can review everything you're getting today. Now, I'd like to ask you a question. If you don't join Ian today, what will your life be like 5 years from now if the Fed programs your money into and out of existence without your say-so? If the government uses these new digital dollars to track and even control how you spend your money, how much you pay in taxes, how much you pay for things like food and gas, what will your life be like 5 years from now if you don't have access to Ian's important research? Project Hamilton is the culmination of more than a century of government interference in the US dollar, a history of devastating policies that stretches from the turn of the last century directly to what's happening in this building today. Each action by the government destroying the dollar and devastating millions of Americans. In 1913, they created the Federal Reserve, and the dollar lost 42% of its value. In 1933, they confiscated Americans' gold, and the dollar plunged 59%. And in 1971, Nixon's scheme to take the dollar off the gold standard slashed another 50% from the value of the dollar. But this pales in comparison to what's about to happen. Ian believes Project Hamilton will prove to be far worse than anything we've seen before. The sacred freedoms this country was established on, freedoms many of us have taken for granted every day, will vanish. Your personal privacy will become a thing of the past, because now everything in your life, from what you buy, what you own, the friends you have, where you work, who you see, who you donate to, even the car you drive and the food you eat, can be tracked, monitored, and even controlled by agents of the US government. That's what Project Hamilton and the new digital dollar will do. There's never been a more dangerous threat than what we face now. And that's why I'm urging you to click that button below and join Ian King today, with 1 full year to see if his research is right for you. There's absolutely nothing to risk by giving Ian's research a try. Consider this. If just a fraction of everything Ian has shared with you today happens, it will still be a completely different America than the one we were all born into. So you need to ask yourself, am I prepared to face this brave new world alone? Ian wants to give you the tools you need so you can prepare and perhaps even prosper. There's too much at stake here not to give this a try. Click the button below now. I'm John Daly. Thank you for being a part of this important message.